Good deal. We'll go ahead and start. You can see in the picture a 1950 Chevy pickup truck. It's not the one we'll be tooling tonight because I had a computer problem and lost that one, so I had to do another one. Slightly different angle, but same truck. And you'll get to see our mugs right now. This is my wife, Jenny. She'll be relaying questions that come up. Because once I start focusing on tooling, I don't really look at the screen, and hopefully she'll help keep me within the frame of the screen since there's a small window for you guys to see. We do have the possibility of a storm tonight, so if we lose feed, we'll go from there. We'll look to reschedule it. Alabama, they pop up in the summer, so it's just one of those things. I'm going to kill our feed since we had our introductions. And there we go.
Baby.
Yeah, I see. Oh, it'll go off. Remember that 14-second delay?
That's right.
Okay. Before I start, I just wanted to go over a couple things that I think are really helpful. This book from Al Stolman on coloring leather, it's a real good book. He goes through a lot of information. I can't show you the whole book because my camera's close for the tooling. This one is the one we'll be using tonight, and that's where I get a lot of my information for pictorial, because he goes through all types of different tooling, from trees, bushes, water, fog, clouds, airplanes, trucks, tractors. It's a great resource. The only sad thing, these books I believe are discontinued, so they're going to be a little bit hard to find, but if you run across them, they're well worth getting them. Figure carving finesse is great for animals and people. He goes through step by step the tools, how to do it. So if you want to learn and you're like me and you're kind of isolated a little bit, these books are fantastic. I use them as a resource quite often. Okay, now I've got my pattern, and I just took the pattern, printed it out where I could have a little bit of a border around it. And I just used plain printer paper, to put my pattern on. It is laser printed because laser printing will not smear and go away with moisture. It's fused into the paper with the heat. So the leather, I just cut out a piece of belly since I got them for a good deal. I did use packaging tape on the back. It works for me. It seems to come off a little bit easier than blue tape. And what we'll start with is putting the, when you do this, make sure your leather is coming back to color where it's not wet, and you can see where the original colors start to come back in the leather. I use just Scotch tape and to adhere my pattern. And that way I can have it there and I can lift it up. and use it. Now let's go into marking our pattern onto the leather. I've used a stylus. It works real good. On this one, I just had to round the edge. I'm sorry, I'm shaking. And it works fine. You can use a pencil or pen. It works real good. One advantage of the pencil or pen is you get to see which lines you've done already. So I've used blue or red in a fine point pen, and then I know which lines I've traced. Right now what I'm using, it seems to work pretty good, is a mechanical pencil, but I put in a harness needle and rounded the edge just a smidge more, smoothed it out, so it's a little bit more rounded, polished it, and it works real good. The only thing with this, if you want to go with the mechanical pencil, make sure it has a retractable tip. I got it on Amazon because you're going to take the retractable tip out and put the harness needle in. This is a 0.7 millimeter, but I don't think that really matters, but the biggest thing is that retractable tip. With tracing, kind of start wherever you like. Try to stay on the lines, because if you're not on lines when you're tracing, it makes it hard to cut where you're supposed to. And with a vehicle, it's kind of like a person. People know what vehicles should look like. And if the lines are really off, people are going to notice it. You're going to see that tracing, you're going to have movements that you feel more comfortable with, and use those to your advantage. I am slow tracing because I'm not doing this for a living. It's enjoyment and relaxation. So I don't have that pressure. And I do spin my leather around quite a bit, so I can see. And you'll see me do that a lot when I cut also. I'll do a lot of spinning of my leather. This inner line here, a white wall, we're not going to do the white wall. You can if you choose, it's just the back tire doesn't have it. So
Mr. G asks if you line the paper with tape so it doesn't rip.
no, I don't. It's just paper, no lining. My leather is coming back to a dry point, and it doesn't have a problem. If your leather is too wet, yeah, it's going to get real mushy and could cause some problems. One thing to try to do, and sometimes I'll tape the bottom end also, just so I know it doesn't move.
You're also holding down your work area with your thumb and forefinger.
Yes. I'm trying to make sure the paper doesn't move and shift, because you can see it's bubbling just a little bit. So, I might put my fingers around it to keep the paper from shifting a little bit. The paper will soften up just a hair. So, if you want to, put tape on the back, try it. That would definitely keep it from getting soft. Which line did I miss there? Oh, my phone. Paper shifted on me. That's what I'm fussing about right here. I'll take the paper, and I'll take it like that too, and then I don't get the shift because the paper can't move. The only negative about that is you're not going to see if you've missed a line until you're done and lift it up. Some people will hold it with their hand and trace over it. I've not had good luck with it. Because it doesn't stay as steady for me. One thing I did do with this pen, I didn't mention, when I put the needle in, I put super glue thin around the needle tip and the ferrule, and I haven't had a problem with it shifting. I did have a slight problem with it backing into the pencil, the body, until I did that. And in here, you want to really be careful, because on the grill, that's kind of front and center on the vehicle, and you want to watch your lines on it. Okay. On tracing, is there any questions before I move on? Because
he said, what are the dotted line areas referring to?
Okay. Dotted lines are areas that I'm not going to cut, but I am going to either bevel back, because on the 50 Chevy, the headlight and fender kind of rolls up and then it drops down here. So there is a line. I just am going to bevel it so it's kind of a softer line without a cut. So when you bevel it, it pulls that edge around to give you a nice rounded edge. So anytime you see a dotted line, it's a line that you don't cut with your swivel knife. I started this one the other day, and you'll see I did not put this line in here by accident, and I didn't pick it up when I lifted the one side of the paper to check myself. So I'm going to show you a way you can work that. If you just hold it down, I haven't had good luck. So what I do, I'll come down to an area like a tire or something, and I'll trim on the line, and come up, and then just come over, and I'm going to do the same thing on the front tire. And this is going to give me 2 points that I know are registered, they're in line with the lines I've drawn. And the reason I'm having to do that is when I did this, I cut it out and I didn't plan for the border that I wanted to do, so it was smaller. If you can see, I'm lining up the tire right here, and I'm lining up the back tire. So by lining up those 2 points, I know the rest of this pattern is lined up, and I can come in and do this line. And that covers that line and all the other ones. I have done some cutting on this one so that we can get more into the tooling of it. And there it is. I was looking for my strop board because I want to make sure my knife is good and sharp. And if your knife starts dragging, you start seeing pull marks in your leather, we're kind of dragging it a little bit, clean your knife, sharpen it, or strop it. And let me talk about cutting a little bit. Around the outside of the body, here, I cut the 1/3 to 1/2 to get the maximum depth when I push this edge back to help make it stand out. I'll do the same thing with like the bumper. This portion of the tire I'll cut pretty deep, but once I start coming down to where the tire contacts the ground, I'm going to cut fairly light. And then once the tire starts lifting off the ground, I'm going to start pressing deeper until I'm back to that 1/3 to 1/2. With the bumper, when I'm here, I'm 1/3 to 1/2. Then when I come over the body, I am decreasing my cut depth because the distance between the fender and the body panel is not that much, so we bevel as deep as we cut. I don't want to push it back too far. In pictorial carving, you will find that you don't do quite as much deep beveling because you've got many layers upon each other. You're going to do more lighter cuts, and that's where a lot of these cuts are lighter. We're going to go into the grill here. I've done a number of these cuts, and we're going to start working on it again. I did stop because I was getting tired the other day. So don't be afraid to stop and take a breather. One thing with the knife, I'm running a thick blade, 1/4 inch. It works for me. But it is a little sometimes hard to see down to where she's cutting. So when I start at times, I'll come in, I'll lean it back a little bit so I can see where that point is. And I'll bring that point down where I want to start my cut and then bring it up. And then I can bring my cut over. It just makes it a lot easier. And when I'm cutting, a lot of times I'll do a lot of my cutting in this direction, and then I'll come back and do my vertical cuts. It's just a little bit easier for me than spinning the leather all the time. I do a lot of spinning of the leather. And I do concentrate a lot when I'm doing this. My family understands when I start tooling, if they see that I'm tooling, don't interrupt. Because I've messed a cut up, I've misstroked a piece, and it's just frustrating. You'll see on these bars, this top piece, I cut a little bit deeper on the bar. This middle one is a indentation for body line, so I didn't cut it as deep. And the bottom of the bar is deeper because that's the bottom where it opens up going into the radiator. So I'm going to push this section back harder. This section, I'm just going to kind of nudge back a little bit to give it that roundness. So that's why I don't cut that as deep. And if you're cutting with a longer blade and you're doing movements, you'll see I'm keeping my front of the blade up, and I'm just cutting with the back point. With cutting these lines, I cut and I had more of the blade in the leather so that it was a little bit easier to keep a straight line. And I'm just double checking all my cuts. And now I'll come in and do my vertical cuts.
Mr. William asked, do you run your horizontal cuts across the areas you'll be doing your vertical lines? Where do they intersect?
Okay. On the pattern, you can see where the bars are going here. I'm making the cut here to this corner, and then I'm going to draw down from this point down for the vertical cut. I try not to bring them together totally, but in this small of an area, sometimes it's hard not to join the cuts. And since this is just a decorative piece, I don't worry about the corners lifting, like on a wall or something if I had a sharp corner. But these, a tooling like this on a car, it's a fantastic way to get into pictorial, because the amount of tools that you need for this is pretty minimal. Okay. Now we're going to go to the headlight right here. You can see I had dotted lines inside. That was the inside of the headlight bucket. We're not going to cut that. We're going to cut these lines right here. I'm not going to cut these. So I'm fairly light. You will see me spinning the leather a lot, because I need to see where that blade is. And the smaller you go, the more important it is to be on the line. And
Okay, William said that they lost the video feed.
okay, how are you doing on this one?
It says,
You've got feed here.
yeah.
Okay. Guillermo, have you lost feed also?
He said his name means William.
William. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. So you've lost feed.
Try refreshing.
Refreshing, yeah. That. What about price? Have you lost feed by chance?
The price still has.
Now what we'll do is...
Mr. Williams is still not working.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking to him through
Okay.
Messenger.
Okay. Well, the good thing is this is going to be up, so he'll be able to
Yeah, I'll let him
watch it
know.
also, so he's not going to lose anything. I'm going to start next on the rim of the tire. On the point where the tire meets the rim on the bead, it's going to be a real light cut, because we're just barely going to bevel that. Because if you look at a tire, that is almost flush. But we do want antique to collect in that point to show the difference. And when I stop a cut and restart it, I come back in the cut just a little bit, so that the blade starts tracking again where it was. Then we're going to go into the next one. On this next line, we're going to go a little bit deeper. because we're going to push it back a little bit more.
He's back.
Good. These lines, they get real close together because of the angle of the tire.
Baby, don't mumble.
And mama,
Yeah, it's giving you funny words.
down come into this line. That's going to be not deep.
Scoot your work toward you a little bit so they can see.
This one?
Toward you.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And you'll see a lot of these lines. Here, you're just going to see this rim where it dishes in, but down here, you're going to start seeing more of it around the back a little bit. So that's why it narrows up here. The center is going to be a decorative cut because the hubcap is here. And when hubcap is here. So we're not really going to do a whole lot of depth with it. It's a little bit hard for us, for Jenny, because there's like almost a 14-second delay from when the camera takes the picture till she sees it on the screen. Then we've got to do the same thing on the back side. The body line here, we're just going to lightly cut because we're going to push it just a little bit. Here's where you can start seeing the lines getting closer. And having to really watch your knife. And I wish I could say there was a secret sauce for learning this. There isn't, other than doing it. And that's why on some of these small tools, it takes me a long time because of this little tool. Little cutting. Because on the tooling that I did with the plow and horses, that was about 3 days. And eventually I didn't work on it all the time. My eyes would get tired. And this is a little bit different too, because I'm working around the camera, so not quite in my normal position. You'll find also that you may be more comfortable cutting to your left or to your right. Yes, you want to try to do both well, but you're just going to find one way works better for you. In detail carving, if cutting to your left works better, use it to your advantage. Oh, one more thing I would recommend. Make sure you have plenty of good light. That's one of the things that I've found have helped me the most. Now we're just going to work on the filler cap, the handle, and then we'll work into the tab. These are fairly light cuts. Sometimes you can use a cedar also, which kind of makes it a little bit easier if you get bolts like on the front fender. The filler cap, I'll go a smidge deeper because it's quite heavy. And then this little line right here, that 45 outside angle of the cap is a decorative cut. We're not going to do anything with it, but we need it to collect a little bit of antique. Because that's what's going to help give us the illusion of depth. And this does take a while. I will wish it was quicker. Since we got this done, we're gonna start working on the windshield. We're almost there. We got probably another 5 or 10 minutes on this. And then we'll start beveling. One of the things that I don't want to skip is this portion here, because this is real important, because we're going to do a lot of layering in there to show depth. Now we put the outside of the window frame and the inside. The inside I'm going to cut a little bit deeper because we'll need to push it just a hair to get the depth that we need to show the inside of the truck.
Mr. Williams said that he can barely hear your voice.
Oh, okay.
I know you can enunciate.
Yeah, I can. I just start talking and I start focusing
And mumbling.
and mumbling. That's why I've got a wife here telling me to speak up. Unless she wants me to shut up.
Not this time.
Okay. Here we're going to do the door joint on the inside, then we'll go to the window frame. And then we'll come back to the steering wheel. And there's no right or other to this. It's what do you feel comfortable with? when I start first cutting this, I start with the border and then work my way to the smaller details, because I just feel it gives me a warm up. It allows me to feel how the leather and the knife are running, because that's one thing that I found real helpful for me. I got some bellies that are a real good deal, and with the bellies, you might be especially if you're talking 8x10 piece or something bigger, you might be in a firm section down here, and then by the time you get up here, you might be spongy. And that really helped me learn how to deal with, casing and different leathers, because you continually had to keep an eye on it. And when you buy a belly for $5, I could deal with those issues. Especially when I'm not selling anything. Almost there. I forgot I had the window frame here. That one's fun. The outside here, I'm not cutting real deep. And this is where tracing accurately really comes into play. Now, I believe we've got all our cutting done. We'll go to doing some beveling. You can start front to back. What I do to begin with is I'll bevel the border just so I get a feel for the leather. Oops, sorry about that.
Okay, come back up in frame.
Yeah, I hit the frame. Okay. One thing you can do also on the borders on the outside here, you can use a regular beveler if you want, because this area I'm going to texture, and I'm going to texture this area. So if you're more comfortable with a regular floral beveler on the outside, it's fine, you can use it. On the outside here, I'm going to use a figure beveler. It is about, I think this one's an $8.95. Figure bevelers, to me, they run a little bit easier than florals, because I can just roll them and see how they've got that nice rounded edge. They just run real nice. Here, I'm going to run it, and I'm going to roll it and use that edge to block it. And I am hitting this pretty hard. Because there's a pretty good distance, and I want to separate it away. This is about a 6 or 7 ounce piece of leather. For pieces like this, I like that, weight, even heavier. I like the weight of it. A nice thing with a beveler is you can use these corners. So I'll lean it back here. I'm not going to bevel as deep here until I get off that fender, and then I'm going to start beveling a little bit deeper, and then I'm rolling it also like I would a swivel knife. So I'm coming around and I'm rolling it. I don't have to get all my depth in one pass. It might take me one pass to get it started, and then one more to finish it. Once I have this done, I'm going to come up here. There isn't a whole lot of depth on the top of the bumper. You can hear how lightly I'm hitting it. I'm not striking it hard. I'm more vertical because I just want it recessed a little bit so it'll collect the antique. And I've also got to smooth out the halo. So the deeper I push it, the harder it is for me to blend it back. And with pictorial carving, I found that the antique and getting it to collect, it's not always how deep you tool, because in this area, you can't tool to a deep depth, because if you tool deep here, what's going to happen when you get to the steering wheel, or if you tool deep here, you've got 3 layers you're going through on depth. On the wheel, well, I just come in, start walking it. Over the wheel, I'm not hitting it as hard. And you see how I'm just rolling it around? And when I come to a corner here, I'll just lean it back a little bit and come around. And then where I have this corner, if I use that corner and lean it back, you see how I beveled that? That's what I love about these bevelers. Here, I'm going to bevel pretty deep. And then as I get to the corner, I'm rolling it back on the point so I can roll it around. Here I'm going to come a little bit harder. To get a little more depth. With the tile, I'm in fairly hard up here. I don't want to hit this area, so I'm leaning the tool on this space in the beginning, and then I'll start straightening it up once I get around. Once I start coming around the tire in here, I'm going to start lightening up how deep I bevel. Because once I start getting close to the contact patch, I'm not going to bevel it yet. Because on that bevel, we're not going to bevel this way, because if we do, then the tire is going to seem like it's floating in the air. Same thing here. We're not going to just bevel this way, because it just won't, it's going to look like the tire is floating. I'll come over where the tire is lifting off the ground. I'll start a little bit lighter, and then I'm going to start pushing deep again. And I'll roll it back on this point. I couldn't get in there as well as I want, but we're going to do that with a model spoon or 902 and the non checkered, and I forgot what number it was, a smooth one. It's the same as a 976. Let's see it. Okay. Now let's work with the tire a little bit more. We talked about how we're going to bevel it. Well, I'm going to come down to a smaller beveler. I believe this is a 891 ballpark. With the tire to the rim is generally proud. So I'm not going to bevel hard. I'm just going to come in And I'm going to lean the tool on this point. And just lightly. Could you do this with a modeling spoon? Sure. Don't think you've got to drive everything back. If you move something too far back, it's real hard to bring it back out again. But you can go back over and push it some more. And on the front of the rim, right here, this is out, and then when it goes to the wheel, we're going to push this back right through here. Once we get to this point around, we're going to be careful, because if we push it back here on this line, that is a 45-degree outside angle. And so I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to start pushing it back. You can see I'm here. I'm hitting a little bit harder because I want more depth here. And then I'm lightening up, and just barely hitting here. Because when we're looking at the tire from this angle, this is pressed back and this is out. So I'm going to come up to the top, and I'm going to lightly feather from there. And then I start getting a little bit heavier, a little bit heavier. Now with this tire again, this is going back in. And then this is raised up for the wheel, and this is back in here. And this is a right angle. This one is a little bit weird. I found that I come in here and I'm going to push back a little bit. And here I will use a modeling spoon because I want a little bit more finesse. And I'm using my finger to steady it, so that I can have a little bit more control as I come around. And then I'm going to come around and lighten it up. So that's going to give me some depth here. It's going to collect a little bit of antique. And it's going to be like a real wheel, where here I'm going to push that, but I'm lightening up a little bit. Okay. And then on the modeling spoons, let's talk about that for just a minute. I've learned on this style modeling spoon, and it's more comfortable to me, but it has been modified. Jim Linnell put out a great video on how he modifies them. He'll take this thickness down right here on a sharpening stone. He'll thin out the point up here so he can use it like a pedal lifter. This isn't razor sharp, but it's got a pretty good edge on it. And the other is to make sure that it's polished up real good. And you can see how that's reflecting the light. If it's not polished, it tends to catch a little bit more and you'll feel it. All I do with it is take my strop board and just polish it. And it brings it up real nice. That's one style, and it's got a bigger spade on the other end, which I use also, but you can see it's fairly thick, and they're fairly flat. Another one that's popular, this one is Berry King, and it's a round point. Peter Main sold one, and a lot of people like these. I'm trying to learn it. It will get into fine areas also. And then they have the spoon on the other end that's kind of like the bigger spoon that I use, except it's rounded. But again, these need to be polished up to a good shine also, so that they work well. But the modeling spoon is a lot of personal preference onto what you get used to and what you're comfortable with. So I can't say this is the answer, is this one. I can say that it works for me. And what I'm doing here is I'm rolling this edge back a little bit, because with the wheel you've got the rim going deep and then it kind of crowns back out.
Push it back up. Push up toward.
No, I'm sorry. How's that?
Better.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. Let me collect. Here's, I'll show you what I was talking about with the tire. You can see here I pushed this back just a little bit around the outside. The wheel well, the rise in the wheel You can see how I rolled this edge and I push this back so that it will collect the antique and it has that look. And you can see how I rolled the tire. When I was talking about being careful how you bevel, you want to do it. I bevel up, and I just barely take my modeling spoon and press down with it, feather it out. I don't bring that. Same thing here. I'm doing more beveling up than I am down. I'll smooth this out, and you can see I did here too the same thing. If you just bevel down, your tire is going to look like they're floating. Questions about tires?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet? Okay. Then what we'll do is we'll roll to, let's do the outside of the vehicle, because we're going to talk about pushing things back and taking care of payload. So I'm going to come down here. I'm lightly tapping because this is in front of the fender. I don't want to drive it back too much, but I do want some depth. And then as I come up off of the fender, I'm going to start really driving it down. This is where I'm really pushing hard. You can see right here, I'm pretty deep, but I've got this halo right here, where if I just left it like that, it would collect the antique and then it would show really bad. I want to push that back. You can use a bigger figure beveler to push it back. You can use the figure beveler you used. Just lean it back a little bit and walk it. That works good. I like these type of bevelers. They're matting bevelers. The checkered ones are $8.98, $8.99, $900. You can get those, and then you can get the smooth ones. And if these are more expensive, these from Candy or other places are, $14 or less, Craft Japan. You can just take this one, sand it down and polish it, and you've got what this is here. This one came in a set of 3. Not sure exactly, probably $40 or so, maybe 50. I don't know. what I'm going to do with this is I'm coming down close to the cut line, and I'm just going to push and walk it up. And then I'm just going to come back up a little bit. I'm going to roll it up just a little bit because you can see it's slightly rounded in both directions, because I don't want it to come back and leave a mark. So I'm going to move it forwards and just walk out that mark. This is the thing that when I'm pulling pictorial makes the biggest difference, is smoothing this out so that you don't have that sharp ridge or halo right there. I will be texturing this, so I'm not going to work too hard on it right now, but I do bring the halo out. Let's look at on the body right here. This fender is a little bit proud, so I'll come in, with a bigger beveler, and I'm just going to bring it back a little bit. Because I want it to show that this is in front, but then I have to watch here because this is coming out, so I don't want to push this section back real far. Once I've done that, I'll come up here, push this back just a little bit, and once I've done that, if you don't have a matter like this, go ahead and use your modeling spoon.
Push up, honey.
Push up?
Mm-hmm.
Use your modeling spoon, and you can do the same thing. We're just going to walk it back. This line right here is where the running board goes into a vertical space, vertical wall of the running board. So on an inside 45 like this, we're going to double bevel to get that look. We don't have a whole lot of room here to feather it out. I'm using a small beveling tool, and when I do this, I'm going to put it on the tip a little bit and come down. I'm not pushing hard. Because I want to do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to flip it and do it here. Except I'm going to stand it more vertical here. But you can hear how I'm lightly hitting it. I don't need to push it back hard. I just need to collect the feet. Right here, and I'm trying to remember on the 50, I believe the body the door came down. I think it overhung the running board a little bit. So I'm just going to come in, push this back just a hair. And I'm going to try to feather that edge out where I have it. Some of this may look like it isn't doing much, but once you put the antique and you put all this together, then it's going to show something. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to come in, kind of bring it back a little bit. That's the one thing you're going to find with pictorial and figure. You're going to be beveling probably 80% of the time, and shading not a whole lot. On the back here, it's also inside 90. So you can take your modeling spoon, come in, and just push it back a little bit.
Push up just a bit.
Thank you. And you've got this inside 90 here also. So push it back just a hair. And bring this out just a little bit. And you don't have to do much. If you think you need to do more, you might have done enough already. Because that doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's going to show up a lot with the antique and finish. Same thing here. It's going to show up a lot. Let's look at the grill. The grill, it's a fairly small area. I'll use a small figure beveler. It'll be in the ballpark of an 890 now. The older 890s were smaller. I will come in on the bottom of the bar. I'm going to push it back a little bit more. And we've got our directional signal right there. And as you get smaller, as you go away, you can lean the tool a little bit so it doesn't hit the back. I'll do that, then I'll spin it around, and I'll do the top of the next bar. And on the back side, I'm going to lean it back a little bit where I don't have as much room, and then I can start coming up. That's going to collect the antique. If you want, you can use A98 because behind these bars you've got the radiator, and you can push this back a little bit. To help give you a little more depth. I'm not pushing hard, but I am moving it back. With the texture that I'm giving it, it's going to make it look darker also because it will collect more antique. And I will do the same thing in the tire well area. I will take a texturing tool and come in, push this back. Because on the car, now the wheel well's about there. And I'll do that down through here. Now, we've talked about the grill. Can you use a modeling spoon also? Yeah. With the top bar, we're just going to come in and we're just going to push it back a little bit. Some may find pushing easier or pulling. Try both and see what works for you. And we don't really want to push too far back on this because this is on the, I don't remember if it's on the hood, but there's no air gap here. Remember. And then we'll come in, clean this up. And don't worry, we kind of mushed this line, mashed. There you go, honey.
Darn Yankee.
No, I'm a damn Yankee. I moved down here over 30 years ago.
And married a redneck.
Just, you can take a knife again and touch it up, or take your modeling spoon and come in, you can open it back up. With the badge, we talked also about how we're not going to push it back very far because that badge isn't very thick. So we're just going to take the modeling spoon, come in, and lightly push it. And then we'll, on the headlights, the headlight, itself and the bezel, and I'll push this back just a little bit, and you can see how I'm on the edge. Just opening it up a little bit. And then just take it around and lightly press it back. To get the look that the headlight is more round, I'm going to take and press in here, and I'm just going to go around. We'll push this back just a little bit because that is a little bit crowded from that portion of the fender. So I'm just taking my model and moving it back just a little bit. Then I'll stand it up and kind of round that side. You remember how I was talking, a little bit goes around those? This is one of those parts. The defender, just push this back just a little bit. With the hood right here, it's more of a inside 45 because the fender comes up over, and then with the hood right in here, the fender will kind of curl down and go over into the hood right here, and then it kind of curls up right in here into the bulbous hood. So we're going to, on this portion, push it back a little bit. And then feather it out. Here, we'll, there it is. That line that I didn't cut, we're going to lightly bevel it. And bring it back. Then the modeling string, to push it, and kind of feather it out. And here, we're just going to push that back a little bit. we got this opened up pretty good. The hood, I believe it runs concave right here, and then it kind of comes down more flat-sided and comes up. So we're going to take a hair shaver, and we're just going to come in and walk it. I'm not pressing hard. And I'm going to feather it, and then I'm going to kind of feather it out here too. And I use the modeling spoon a whole lot. I'm going to come in, kind of clean it up. So I kind of get that look of the, bulbous hood. And then I'm going to come over here, smooth this down just a little bit, and hopefully you can see where that's starting to give the look of that fender coming in and then the hood kind of coming up. Now this would have to be finessed a little bit more. To get it clean. Now let's look at the window and steering wheel and everything. On this, we're going to start from the foreground back. We've got to push the window back just a little bit, blend it out before we go to the next layer. So here I'm going to use a fairly big figure tool, beveler, and I'm just going to come in and lightly push it back. Same thing over here. Because this is the glass. And I'm using the corners of the tool also. Once I've got it pushed back a little bit, then I'm going to come in with the matting beveler and mat it back. And these do come in different sizes. And you can use the corner of these also. By hand. Because I want the antique to collect around, but I don't want to see where I've beveled. So we've got this bevel on the outside of the window frame, I'm just going to come in and very lightly push it back. Because these were not real proud, but I do want a little bit of antique flesh in there to show. So I'm just beveling very lightly. So we've got that taken care of. Next, we're going to work on the steering wheel, since that's the next layer behind. We'll push it back. And you can see I'm not pushing back very much. It's fairly light. And here, I'll come in and push it back. And you can do this with a modeling spoon also. Now that we've got the steering wheel taken care of, we're going to go to the window frame. And on the window frame, since this is looking outside to the sky, is what it's going to be, we're going to push this back a little bit harder. And what we'll do is, I won't worry too much about smoothing this out, because I'm going to put a light texture on this. My background texture is going to be, that was my bottom texture, whoops, is going to be a coarse checker. What I can do in this, because it's going through the window, I will run a not as coarse texture. I'll run a finer one to show that there's a difference between the glass and no glass. So we've got the windshield, steering wheel, window taken care of. Next step back is the seat. We're going to come in, bevel it, push it back, looking from this angle, the cab wraps around. It's not a, it is a right angle, but it's a softened one. To show that, I'm going to take a hair shaver and I'm going to walk it down. I'm not doing a whole lot. I want it to be seen, but I don't want it to be super obvious. So I'm smoothing it out. Same thing here, I'm just cleaning it up a little bit so that the antique's going to hit it. Next, we've got the back window. Guess what? We're going to bevel it back. We bevel it, then we're going to smooth it. And finally, we would take the texturing tool, because we're seeing outside, and just give it a little bit of a texture. And this one I might even go lighter because we're going through 2 panes of glass. I'm assuming the driver's window is open. Now, we've kind of covered the layers. The door handle, that's going to be a finesse with your modeling stuff. Just coming in, pressing back a little bit. And I'm using that sharp edge to help define the door handle. And the push button. The same thing would be done with the door lock. Just come in, lightly push it back just a little bit. Feather it out. Just a little bit of antique what's in here. The gas cap would be the same. I'll let it push this back, push the gas cap back a little bit harder. The rubber mount, where it goes into the cab, it's a little bit more than a 45 inside, so I kind of treat it like that. I would come in, bevel it slightly, and then feather it in. with a body. The body comes up and then it comes in a little bit on that belt line. To show that, you can come in with your beveler or your modeling strip and just push it back. A little bit of antique goes a long ways. And then come in and roll it nice. And you would clean this up, push it back a little bit more. And then here would be inside 45, which we talked about. Tires. Kind of roll them a little bit. On the ground where it connects, I take and push up just a little bit. Because the tire, when it hits the ground, it's rounded, squished down a little bit, and then I'll come in and feather this back. I don't want a heavy look, but I want double bevel, a very light double bevel. As I get closer to the ground with the tire, I'm going to lighten up a little bit, and where the tire meets the ground on the front, I'm going to do a double bevel again. Feather it out. And then as it comes up off the ground, I'm going to push it down. And then I will background this area to do your tread. You can either use the modeling spoon or just come in and cut some lines. I don't cut all the way down, and I'm following the angle of the tire. I'm rolling with it. And when you put antique in here, it's going to look, like thread. Any questions? On the front bumper, if you want to put bolts in, a cedar tool works real good for that. I wouldn't hit it. I would just come in with your hand and just twist and kind of roll it. And there you've got your bolt head. If you want, you can come in with your modeling spoon and push it back just a little bit around the edge. A lot of times at this scale, that collecting of the antique is enough to insinuate the bolt.
No questions.
Good deal. I hope this was helpful. Go ahead and post your tooling when you get it finished, so we all can enjoy it. When I get this one finished, I'll post it also. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a blessed day and happy tooling.